It started out like an ordinary afternoon in a quiet suburban neighborhood, birds chirping, kids playing, and a woman named Dana walking home from the grocery store. But within minutes, everything changed. A black SUV screeched to a stop beside her, and two rookie officers jumped out, shouting confusing orders. They were new to the force, nervous, and clearly in over their heads. Dana froze, shocked and scared as one of them pointed a gun directly at her. What they didn't know was that Dana wasn't just any woman. Behind her calm eyes was someone with years of tactical experience, discipline, and courage because Dana had once served as a Navy SEAL. She had faced real danger before, but never expected to be threatened in her own hometown, and especially not by those sworn to protect it. As neighbors peeked through their windows, the tension grew thicker by the second. The young officers' hands trembled, their voices unsteady, while Dana stayed still, reading every move, every breath, every hesitation. Then, something in her tone shifted. A quiet authority entered her voice, the kind that makes people stop and listen. That's when the situation began to turn, in a way none of them expected. The rookies were about to learn a lesson they would never forget, one about respect, control, and what true strength really looks like. But before it was over, everyone watching would realize exactly why you never ever mess with a Navy SEAL. The silence hung heavy in the air as Dana slowly raised her hands, her calmness unsettling the rookies even more. She could tell they were scared, not cruel, just untrained and in way over their heads. One of them barked out another command, his voice cracking under pressure. Dana's instincts kicked in. Every move, every breath was measured. Years of SEAL training had taught her how to handle chaos, and this was chaos in its purest form. Inside, memories flashed through her mind, grueling drills, endless nights on missions where fear could mean failure. Back then, she'd learned how to stay grounded, how to read fear, and respond with control. But standing here now, with two officers pointing weapons at her, Dana realized this was a different kind of battlefield. Down the block, a few neighbors started recording. The flashing red and blue lights reflected off nearby windows, casting an uneasy glow across the street. The officers shouted for backup, but Dana didn't move. Her voice remained calm as she spoke, firm but steady, trying to defuse the situation before it spiraled out of control. Then, one officer noticed something: her Navy insignia tattoo, faint but unmistakable, on her wrist. His expression changed from aggression to confusion. "Wait, you're military?" he asked, voice trembling. Dana met his eyes but said nothing. The weight of her silence spoke louder than words, and in that moment, the rookies began to realize they had just made a serious mistake, one that would change everything. Dana's silence cut through the noise like a blade. The officers exchanged uneasy glances, realizing they might have crossed a line they couldn't easily explain. The older of the two, Officer Reed, tried to steady his breathing while his partner, barely out of training, gripped his radio, unsure whether to call in their mistake or double down. Dana could see their panic growing, and she knew that one wrong move could send everything spiraling. Meanwhile, a small crowd was forming at the edge of the street. A woman whispered that Dana was a veteran. Another said she'd seen her help during a neighborhood safety drill months earlier. The rumor spread quickly, mixing confusion with anger. Phones were still recording, every second captured for the world to see. Inside, Dana's thoughts raced. She remembered her days leading her SEAL team, guiding rookies through real danger. They had trusted her then. These officers, though, weren't listening, they were reacting. Her training told her to wait for the right moment, to de-escalate without feeding their fear. Then, the distant sound of sirens grew louder. More patrol cars were on the way, lights flashing in the distance. Reed's jaw tightened. Backup meant questions, and questions meant accountability. His young partner muttered something about a report of a suspicious person, but even he didn't sound convinced anymore. Dana kept her gaze steady, her calm presence only deepening the uncertainty around them. The crowd held its breath, the air thick with tension. Everyone could feel it. Something big was about to happen. The wail of the sirens grew closer until the street glowed with flashing red and blue. Neighbors backed away as more officers stepped out of their cars, hands hovering near their holsters. The situation that had started with two rookies was now a full-blown scene, tense and unpredictable. Dana stood motionless in the middle of it all, her calm composure the only steady thing in the chaos. Officer Reed's voice trembled as he tried to explain, but his words tangled in the air. The senior sergeant who arrived looked from Dana to the rookies, confusion flickering across his face. "What's going on here?" he demanded. No one had an answer that made sense. Dana's grocery bag lay spilled on the pavement, simple proof of how wrong everything had gone. The crowd whispered, louder now. "She's Navy," someone said again. "She's a SEAL." The word carried through the air like a wave, making every officer pause for just a second. The sergeant's eyes narrowed as he caught the tattoo on Dana's wrist. "Ma'am," he started carefully, "is that true?" Dana didn't flinch. Her voice came out low, steady, almost controlled to the point of silence. "Yes, it's true." That's when the tension hit its breaking point. The rookies' faces went pale. The sergeant's jaw tightened, realizing the weight of what had just happened. Radios crackled. Orders were whispered. Cameras rolled. And before anyone could take another step, Dana took a slow breath, preparing to do something no one on that street would ever forget. Before Dana could speak, a deep voice came from behind the crowd. "Step away from her." Everyone turned as a tall man in civilian clothes walked forward, showing a badge clipped to his belt. He wasn't local law enforcement. The sergeant's expression shifted instantly. This was someone higher up. The man introduced himself as Special Agent Torres from Naval Intelligence. The air grew even heavier. Torres looked at Dana with a knowing nod, like they had met before. The rookie's eyes darted between them, unsure what was happening. "You have no idea who you just pointed a weapon at," Torres said sharply, his voice echoing through the tense silence. Dana stayed still, her face unreadable, but inside she knew exactly what was coming. Her past, the one she thought she had left behind, was about to come rushing back. The sergeant tried to take control, asking for clarification, but Torres cut him off. "She's not just a Navy SEAL. She's part of a classified Unit 1 whose work doesn't end when the uniform comes off." The crowd gasped softly, unsure whether to believe it. Cameras zoomed in closer. Dana's pulse quickened. She hadn't expected Torres to show up, or for her old life to surface like this. The rookie's mistake had just triggered something far bigger than a neighborhood misunderstanding. And as Torres stepped closer, lowering his voice, he said something that froze her in place, words that hinted this wasn't a random incident at all, but the beginning of something planned. The tension snapped like a coiled spring. Dana stepped forward, her eyes locked on the rookies, her calm demeanor now radiating authority. "Lower your weapons," she commanded. For the first time, their hands wavered, uncertainty etched into every movement. Officer Reed's partner slowly obeyed, dropping his grip while Reed's knuckles whitened around the gun. Dana didn't move a muscle, but her presence alone made it clear she was in control. Special Agent Torres moved to her side, a silent reminder that Dana was not alone and that this was no ordinary confrontation. He whispered into her ear, and she nodded. With a few calculated steps, she guided the rookies away from the crowd, her voice firm but measured, teaching them the lessons they hadn't learned in the academy: respect, awareness, and the weight of power. The officers' faces reflected relief, awe, and lingering fear as the neighborhood exhaled collectively. The sergeant approached, attempting to regain authority. Dana simply gave him a Luca glance that conveyed experience far beyond the badge he wore. Cameras continued to roll, capturing a moment that would soon go viral, a NavySEAL.com under fire, turning a tense standoff into a lesson in discipline and control. Just when it seemed the ordeal was over, Dana's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and froze. A single text from an unknown number read, "*, we saw you today, and we're coming." Her jaw tightened. She looked at Torres, who gave a subtle nod. Knowing the peaceful street was only a temporary reprieve, the rookies had survived their first lesson, but for Dana, the real battle was just beginning. The calm street, the crowd, and even the flashing lights faded behind the sense of a looming threat, leaving everyone to wonder what would happen next. The street slowly returned to a quiet hum as the crowd dispersed, whispers of what had happened still lingering in the air. The rookies stood together, shaken but wiser, their hands still slightly trembling as they recounted the events to their sergeant. Dana had not only diffused the situation, but had also taught them a lesson they would never forget. Courage is measured, not by weapons or authority, but by control, awareness, and respect. Special Agent Torres lingered nearby, keeping a watchful eye as Dana collected her groceries. He gave her a small nod of approval and unspoken acknowledgement of her skill and composure. The incident had brought back memories of her past missions, but it also reminded her why she had chosen to return to civilian life, to protect others quietly, without fanfare, while still carrying the strength and discipline of a Navy SEAL. The rookies, now humbled, approached Dana cautiously. We're sorry," one of them stammered. Dana met their gaze and simply said, "Learn from this. Respect comes first." Her voice held no anger, only firm guidance, leaving a lasting impression on those who had once threatened her. As she walked away, the neighborhood felt different, more aware, more cautious, and strangely inspired. Dana had turned a potentially dangerous confrontation into a lesson in bravery and resilience. But even as she disappeared from view, that text from the unknown sender remained in her mind, a reminder that vigilance never ends. For Dana, life would always carry challenges, but she was ready for whatever came next. A reminder that true strength is calm, measured, and prepared for the unexpected.